An obsession at times is seen as unnatural. However, a healthy one may have benefits. A fascination that has been stimulated for 40 years and an obsession the past 12. Kathy Lee Gifford is infatuated by the life and times of Aimee Semple McPherson. She has written the book and lyrics to the musical Scandalous, the life and trials of Aimee Semple McPherson, which is officially set to open November 15th. Although the play is a lengthy 2 hours and 30 minutes, Gifford has felt even that isn't enough to convey the true meaning of McPherson's life. Her obsession allows her to tackle the challenge of conveying McPherson's significant life in a Broadway play. Gifford feels that there are so many significant events during McPherson's short but eventful lifetime that need to be covered, yet some have to be left out, for reasons known. A challenge she feels ready to overcome as she has done so with many other obstacles, citing being in the business for 45 years. Gifford researched McPherson thoroughly by reading over 50 books on her. With so much knowledge, insight, and information, she has been writing and editing the production for quite some time. A previous version was featured in Seattle last year. However, that doesn't compare to all the bright lights, critics, and popularity of New York City's Broadway. In the musical, Gifford uses the technique of chronology to show the events of Aimee McPherson's life. By doing so, she feels that the viewer will be able to gain a better understanding from McPherson's action that appear to be scandalous in society's perspective. Adding on chronological events will give the viewer insight on McPherson's development and environment. This aspect helps the viewer gain a greater understanding and insight instead of just portraying McPherson's latter years. Another dilemma Gifford faced was whether she should talk about Aimee the superstar, or the genius marketer, or Pentecostal evangelist, or rebellious teenager. Who should be portrayed on stage, and in what aspect was the glaring question that needed to be clarified. Although the show is still in the preview stage, Gifford has decided to begin the play with a spectacular musical seed which brings the audience back 80 years as if they were in a show that was presented by Aimee McPherson in her Los Angeles-based temple. Aimee segues into announcing that she will tell her story from the very beginning. The scene changes to a montage depicting Aimee's birth and childhood years. The first scene with dialogue begins with a 17-year-old rebellious Aimee who wants nothing to do with religion and loves theater. This especially angers her very religious mother, who feels theater is a great evil and there is no place for good women to be in it. As time passes, she hears of a young pastor who is giving a sermon as a theatrical performance. Her father gives her permission to attend, while her mother objects. She becomes completely engaged and mesmerized by his lectures and kind manner. Aimee had never met a person who made her love religion more. Much to her mother's dismay, she marries the Pentecostal and goes to China with him in order to do God's work and spread his message. After only a month, her husband passes while Aimee is pregnant in China. She loses all hope in God and questions again. While still grieving, she moves to New York City, where her mother now lives. Her mother encourages her to get married. Thus, she meets an accountant who is plain and boring. This is a complete opposite of her previous husband. All of a sudden, she has an urge to spread God's message because he speaks to her. She tours the country giving inspiring sermons that move and inspire many. Throughout her journey of touring the country for God, the audience views specific and personal scenes involving Aimee. This demonstrates the in-depth research that Gifford conducts for many years on her life's greatest obsession. When she finally arrives in LA, things are pleasant. However, when she decides to stay there permanently, trouble arises as the main pastor wants her to leave, journalists want to misquote her, and men fight for her love. McPherson is able to persevere, and through the radio, she's able to reach the entire nation with her message, but she doesn't find any time to rest. She becomes an addicted drug user to help her stay energized and alert. Using Hollywood, Aimee combines theater with religion. Her productions are seen as scandalous because they use actors to illustrate stories of the Bible and other messages alike. Aimee is seen swimming at Venice Beach and assumed drowned after many days of not being found. However, after a month she comes back and states she was kidnapped and taken to Mexico. This is the major scandal of her lifetime and is taken to court. People lost their lives searching for her, and most people believe she was on a getaway with a secret lover. Through blackmailing and expensive lawyers, Aimee is sentenced as not guilty. Soon after this incident, her untimely death occurs. Some people perceive Aimee as a saint, while others perceive her as a pompous liar. However, no one was able to deny her efforts in helping the community and improving the world around her, even though her medium may not have been the best. Throughout the musical, the viewer can sense the great insight that they are given about Aimee Semple McPherson's life. This would not be possible without Kathy Lee Gifford's obsession for McPherson. The production is a clear example of the hard work that Gifford placed into it. The viewer gets a complete perspective of McPherson from her early age to her death. Viewing this show allows a person to form a clear and facts-based opinion on McPherson's life and work. Gifford allows the audience to get a greater insight and understanding of this person whom she admires and is completely fascinated by.